Hey, good morning, good evening, whatever time it is when you're watching this video. I hope you're having an awesome day. This is Sean, by the way. And in today's video, we're going to talk about your rights as a private security officer in the workplace. Now, mind you, this video doesn't pertain to those of you who belong to some type of collective bargaining agreement. So, for example, maybe you belong to an association or some type of other collaborative bargaining unit. This video does not pertain to you. Refer to your bargaining agreement with your employer for more details on what your rights are. So this video is for those who work for a private employer. This doesn't pertain to those of you who belong to some type of government employment, just private employers, okay? And this video is designed for those of you that are in the state of California. You might live in another state or work in another state. This video might pertain to you, but my knowledge base is the state of California. So make sure that you consult with a legal representative of your state. I'm not an attorney. That's my disclaimer. As everything, this is just my information, my knowledge base as a member of an association. I'm a current member of association at my place of employment, by the way. So your rights in the workplace, they're really limited, and they're limited to the California State Labor Code, wage and labor laws. Obviously, you have a right to compensation. If you provide work or some type of service to your employer, you have the right to be paid on a certain day. And you have a right to know what your wages are. That's one set of your rights. Now, the second set of rights is really to work in a non-discriminatory, non-hostile work environment, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. Your employment, though, is limited to at-will employment. So what does at-will employment mean? Well, it means that you can terminate your employment with your employer at any time, with or without cause. The same thing goes with your employer. Your employer can terminate your employment with or without cause. So that's with or without a reason. That's what it means. And that's the right of your employer. That is what at-will employment is. I want to say that most private security professionals fall into the at-will employment category because most belong to private employers, in my opinion. Now, if you're a California private security officer, you have a right to work in a non-discriminatory environment. So what this means is your employer cannot treat you differently based on your religion, race, age, if you're over 40 years, your perceived nationality, gender, sexual preference, genetics, skin color. There's a whole list of human being characteristics. You know, we obviously come from different cultures, and because of that, we may appear differently to others. So you can't treat somebody differently based on that. As for a hostile work environment, I often hear people complaining about them working in a hostile work environment. Oh, this is a hostile work environment. Most people don't even know what a hostile work environment is. So what a hostile work environment is your employer treating you differently. You have repeated behavior in the workplace, and what I mean by repeated behavior is your employer is taking adverse actions, and they're creating that environment that's difficult to work in, and that could be based on all those characteristics: your race, religion, the skin color. Okay. Also, there's something called sexual discrimination, and that's discrimination or treating somebody differently based on their perceived sex, and usually it's females, but it could be vice versa as well. There's also something called quid quo pro, that means this for that. So in exchange for a sexual favor, I will give you a raise or promotion. That's definitely illegal discrimination. If you fall into that category, you might have a basis for a claim. Okay, now if you fall into those categories I just mentioned, and again you're working in this environment that encourages that type of behavior, well, that's a hostile work environment. Now, I want to say that a hostile work environment is not an environment where you're being disciplined based on something that you did wrong in the workplace. So maybe you weren't following company policy wrong. Maybe you show up work late, okay, and then your employer is tired of it and assigns you to a different post, maybe 20 miles away or 50 miles away. Okay, it's kind of messed up. But hey, you know what? If you have a tendency to not follow the employer's policy, well, that's discipline. Okay, it's discipline is meant to encourage positive behavior in the workplace. So you can't say that's discrimination in a hostile work environment. Discipline, and I'm going to be firm here. Discipline, you being disciplined at workplace does not entail a hostile work environment. Okay, that's a no-no. Okay, now if you're in a position, you're similarly situated when you compare yourself to other employees, and your employer's taking adverse employment action against you, and not the other person who is similarly situated as you, well, you might have a claim for discrimination. Again, if it's based on those characteristics. Again, I'm going to repeat: the age, over 40. Skin color, culture, and the list goes on and on. Okay. Now, if you want to win that lawsuit, again, you're gonna have to, or claim, you're gonna have to prove that other person wasn't disciplined, but you were, and that's very difficult to do because personnel files, they're not disclosable really without the permission of the employee. So that other person who's not being discriminated upon has to agree, and that's in the absence of a court order. And the way that some of these private employers work is once there's a lawsuit, or once they know they're going to get sued, some of these personnel records, they start vanishing. Okay, it is against the law, but that I've seen that happen before in the workplace. It vanishes, and then there goes the evidence, and obviously that's a crime. You can't just destroy evidence. It's just something that employers tend to do. So don't be surprised if evidence disappears, and the other employee who was not disciplined, don't be surprised if that person don't be surprised if that person testifies on behalf of the employer. Okay, it takes a brave person to actually stand his or her ground against the employer, especially if this person wants to maintain employment. It's something really difficult to do. Another note, you might see on TV, news, maybe read a newspaper or a magazine where somebody won millions of dollars on a discrimination lawsuit. You guys, that's a dime a dozen. It doesn't normally happen that way. Okay, usually the lawsuits will get thrown out, or usually you just go broke because you're going to have to pay for attorney fees unless the attorney, the discrimination attorney that you hire, wants to take your case on a contingency basis. And they will only do so on a contingency basis if there's a good likelihood that they're going to win the lawsuit, because they're going to have to upfront expert fees, court cost, paralegal fees, and you name it, filing fees, you name it. They're going to have to upfront all this, so they're not going to take your case unless they know that they're going to win, and they don't accept every case. It will play a toll on your life filing one of these claims. I'm not discouraging you, but I'm just telling you that I've been around for a while. You're going to have to go possibly to depositions where they put you in a, obviously a comfortable room for hours, and they interrogate you. They ask you questions about your high school, your upbringings, questions that are totally not relevant, and they're able to do that because there's no judge, there's no referee, there's no arbitrator that is monitoring these silly questions that they ask you that just, to my opinion, is designed to break you. It's a very frustrating process, and it's time consuming. It consumes your life every day. Again, you might, this might take 4 years, 5 years. It could take 7 years, and then there's appeals. It's not instant gratification. You don't instantly get money out of this. I mean, you could end up actually worse. And then if you don't prevail, you might be on the hook for paying for your employer's attorney fees. Okay, that's how uncomfortable this whole litigation process is. Now, hopefully I didn't discourage you if you are being discriminated upon in your workplace. I encourage you to leave and not stay with this employer. Me personally, I mean, with everything that I've been through my life, if I feel like my employer is harassing me, I think I'm at the point at my time in my life where I would just leave, and why deal with the hassle? Even if it is illegal discrimination, I would probably just leave. So I hope this video doesn't discourage you to file a claim. On this channel, I make videos that are for employers and also for those of you that are in the workplace, especially your private investigators or your private security officers. I'm not an attorney at all. I want to keep mentioning that. I'm not an attorney. This is not legal advice. What I'd like you to do is, if you feel like you have a claim, to present the information that I have in this video to an attorney, because the facts differ all the time. You want to present the maybe the possible cause of action that you might have based on this video, and present your facts to a licensed professional, so this person can decipher whether or not you have a legitimate claim, whether you're within the statute of limitations. And that's another thing, is you have to fall within the statute of limitations. That is that's a time period where you have to file a claim in civil court. If you pass this statute of limitations, then you can't file a claim anymore, again, depending on what the cause of action is. Typically it's about a year. Okay, so anything you file after a year might just get thrown out of court. Okay, I'm gonna leave some information in the description below from the EEOC, and I think some other organizations. I'll leave some information on what discrimination is, what you could do about it, and what a hostile work environment is, so you get some better information than what I'm presenting to you on this video. Okay, hope this video helps. Hopefully you guys are all gainfully employed and you love where you work. Somebody once told me, an LAPD Sergeant Jack Summers, he taught at the Mount San Antonio College. He said, hey, if you work, do something that you love to do, so that you will not have to work a day in your life. And Sergeant Summers said, I've been with the LAPD for 30 years, I'm retired, but I have not worked a single day in my life. I hope one day you can say the same thing. Hope this video helps you guys, and like, subscribe, share, and comment if you have any questions. Take care and be safe.